Hello everyone, it is of course me, Dan, here with another video, and today we're going to be doing a review for a TV show that I've wanted to watch for some time, but just not had the spare time at all to watch it. I finally got the chance to sit down and watch season 1 a couple of days ago. I know I'm very late to the party, but like I say, I enjoyed this season so much, I had to do a review for it because, wow, I have really been missing out. So just to give my backstory on the whole Karate Kid franchise, I watched the original film when I was quite young. It was one of the films that I definitely grew up with because if you guys don't know, I've been doing jiu-jitsu since I was about 7 years old. I was bullied quite a lot when I was in school. The Karate Kid was a film that I really connected with and resonated with a lot. You know, like I say, your main character going through bullying and learning to overcome that through self-defense. It really spoke out to me. I never really watched the sequels though. I only got into them a couple of years ago actually when they were airing on TV. When I first heard about this show back when it was on YouTube, I really didn't know what to think of it. It looked pretty much like just another bad idea of taking an 80s property and bringing it into the 2010s. I said I was always going to watch it if I had spare time, and of course season 3 just recently dropped, so it was fresh in my mind. I thought, let's finally watch it. Let's watch season 1, and wow, I was impressed. So with the brief synopsis for Cobra Kai, it takes place 34 years after the events of the original film. We mainly follow Johnny Lawrence, of course, who was one of the proteges of Cobra Kai that Daniel, of course, fought in the very end of the original Karate Kid. We pick up with him 34 years later. We see how his life has just kind of stagnated since the 80s. He's never really recovered out of that slump that he was put into after that night until he meets someone called Miguel who finds out about him and his past with karate, and he wants him to train him in the ways of martial arts, and through that he decides to reform Cobra Kai, and it ends up rekindling his rivalry with Daniel LaRusso in the process. Of course, starting off with the positives, I just have to mention the premise for this, because again, it was something that when I looked at it on paper, I thought, I don't know how they're going to handle this. And to be honest with you, the main reason for that was just because of the fact it was streaming on YouTube Red. Because they just, again, they'd never really been known for making quality content. And especially with an IP as beloved to many people as the Karate Kid. But they absolutely pulled it off with this. This is honestly a brilliant premise. And I love as well how simplistic this season was. You have Johnny with Miguel training him and evolving both of their characters throughout the course of the season. Daniel, of course, evolves as well when he trains Robbie. It was just such a simple way to go about it, but it worked so well. It really did a good job of harkening back to that kind of vibe that you got with the first Karate Kid, but mixing it up enough to make it really engaging and exciting to watch as a whole season of television. And of course, the characters of Johnny and Daniel are fantastic in this. I really enjoyed having them both here. If I had to pick between one of them, I would have to say Johnny, given that, especially in season 1, it certainly feels like his show. He's definitely the character we spend the most time with, because of course, in the original film, Johnny was very much seen as just this typical high school bully. In here, we get so many more deep dives into his character. We see him evolve as a person throughout the season. And I just really liked what they did with his character. And he was certainly one of my favorites coming out of this. And I really enjoyed what William Zabka brought to this. He's still amazing in the fight scenes, even in his 50s, which I've got to give the guy credit for. I like how they with Daniel, they explored a lot more of his flaws as a person. You know, very much showing that these characters weren't exactly what we thought they were in that original film. There were layers to them. There were complexities, there were flaws and highlights in the two of them, and in a way highlighting how the two of them really aren't that far apart from one another, which was a really cool dynamic that they played with. And then of course you've got the new characters that they introduced in the show. You've got Miguel, who is probably my favourite character of the whole show. His relationship with Johnny I really enjoyed, acting as this son that Johnny never had, which I thought was a really cool dynamic. I like how he explored his family as well. You saw him really grow as a person, but then also how Johnny's influence of Cobra Kai also brings about some negatives within his life, and it really adds a lot of layers to his character as well. And then you've actually got Johnny's actual son in Robbie, who is another character introduced this season. At the first, I wasn't sure what to make of him, only because of his attitude and the way he was, but eventually by the end of the season, I really enjoyed his character and where they took him, taking him from this bad boy to this person with a real good heart in them under Danny's influence, and Daniel training him in the ways of Miyagi-Do. I thought that was really cool. And then of course you've got Sam, who is Daniel's daughter, and she was a really good character as well. I really liked what they did with her throughout the season, her evolving from this person who was trying to fit in with the popular girls and then slowly coming out of her shell and mixing with these other people and breaking away from that status quo. And also, this is me just, of course, everyone knows that I hate ships on TV shows, but I'm just going to flat out admit it on here. I ship Miguel and Sam. Yes, you can clip this up as much as you want. I said it. I like the two of them together. The action in the show as well is awesome. I really enjoyed this because with the original Karate Kid film, it wasn't really renowned for amazing action. Its action was very good, but it wasn't like one of the real primary driving forces of the film. It was the characters and the story. In here, the action is really toned up a notch, and I really liked how fast-paced it was. It was very well choreographed, a lot better than I thought it was going to be. It was really cool sequences in here. My favourite fight scene easily being the canteen fight in episode 5. Easily my favourite of the whole season. I really enjoyed that. It's kind of the first moment where Miguel really goes in the forefront in showing off his new skills that he's learnt in Cobra Kai. That was a really cool scene, and all the fights throughout the show I thought were fantastic. And of course the big final tournament fight scenes that you get in the final episode of the season were also damn amazing as well. And something as well that I really liked about the season was the actual score, not just the licensed music, but the actual original score that's created for the show. I loved it. I loved the use of the electric guitar riffs, and as someone who's a massive fan of the guitar and plays guitar constantly, I really dug the sound of this, and it kind of inspired me to try and recreate some of the theme songs on my electric guitar. Like, that's how much I really enjoyed this score. It very much felt like an 80s guitar score, which just gives it bonus brownie points for me personally. And another last thing that I will say is that I really liked the connections and the references to the original trilogy, because of course this will appeal to those of you who maybe have never seen the original Karate Kid film, and this is your first experience of the franchise. You can still enjoy it, but there's plenty of really good references and callbacks to the original films, which I very much appreciated. And it was just nice how you didn't have to watch those previous movies to enjoy this, but it helped to enrich your experience while watching the show. Now, it isn't perfect. There are a couple of nitpicks that I do have with Season 1. They don't derail the season at all for me personally, but they're just very minor things that I did notice. At times, there is a bit too much teen drama for my liking. You know me, I'm not a big fan of teen drama in most shows, and I was able to bypass it with this one because I thought the characters for the most part were written very well, but there were a few instances where I just felt, well, maybe there's a bit too much here. Thankfully they were able to quickly move on from that, and we got onto more interesting topics, which eventually saved this from being a real major issue for me personally. The other one was the passage of time in the show. It felt quite strange because we get kind of lines of dialogue that say that a lot of time has passed, but it doesn't really feel like it, and it feels very weird at times, especially towards the end of the season where we're told that it's almost been a year, I believe, since Miguel has been training, and it just felt a bit weird that he goes from being this, person that's still got a bit of flaws in him, fighting wise, to just being an absolute badass, and also his personality changes from kind of a warm-hearted person to someone who's a bit more cold and callous. If at times it did feel like a bit too quick of a transition, and maybe the season could have either helped to establish that a bit more, or maybe could have had 1 or 2 more episodes to further flesh that out. It didn't bother me in the long run. It was just kind of something that I thought about for a little bit, but then after a while I just kind of forgot about it. But overall, I really enjoyed Season 1 of Cobra Kai. I really enjoyed it. I mean, like I say, the fact that I binged it within 3 days just tells you I really enjoyed this. I can't wait to watch Season 2 and 3. I will be doing a review for each of those 2 seasons when I eventually finish them, and they will be uploaded onto the channel as soon as I can get them out. But in terms of Season 1, I'm going to give it a score of a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. It really surprised me with how good it was. And yeah, I absolutely can't wait to catch up on the show and get to the end of Season 3, because I've been hearing a lot of praises for Season 4. So I can't wait to get through these next 2 seasons and see what everyone's talking about. But thank you all very much for watching my review on Cobra Kai Season 1. Of course, let me know in the comment section down below what your thoughts are on Season 1. If you enjoyed it as much as me, let me know all about that down below. I want to thank you all for watching. Be sure to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel if you're brand new, and I hope to see you all again next time.